Welcome to part 2 of week 4, in which we are dealing with oral communication. So the next form of oral communication is telephone communication. We know about telephones and what we mean with telephone communication. We know it is a system which uses a gadget or a tool, and the two parties of the communication must be having a gadget on their end, and you reach a person by dialing a number. So every owner of a telephone gadget or tool has got a prescribed number through which they are able to communicate with other people. Telephone communication is taken to be one of the most effective forms of oral communication, and it serves a very good purpose of talking directly to somebody who is away from you. So physically they are not reachable, but by using the telephone tool or gadget, you're able to communicate to them as if you are communicating to them face to face. For you to reap the maximum benefits in telephone communication, it is important for you to observe the following techniques. Now, before you make your call, make sure that you have identified the best time to call. Now, this time should be suitable for you as the caller and also suitable for the other person, the person that you are calling. So if, for example, you want to make a call to make an inquiry on an official matter or a business matter, you cannot call the person outside the working hours. Like, you cannot call the person very early in the morning before they get to work. You cannot make such a call in the evening or at night. And also we have these other hours when people may not be working, like the meal hours, like lunch hour. So ensure the time is right for you and also the person that you are calling. Ensure that the number, because we have said the number is the identification of the person on the other end. And usually when we make mistakes to telephone numbers, the call will go through, but it will go to the wrong person. So you will have wasted your time and also the person that you are calling, since the call is not intended for them. So ensure that you are calling the right number. Plan the call, plan what you want to tell the other person. Otherwise, you are going to spend a lot of time discussing non-issues, so that by the time you are telling the person the purpose for the call, you have spent a lot of time. Remember, time in a telephone call also translates to money, because we make payments for the service. And then ensure that you are prepared. All the information that the person on the other end may require, make sure you have it at your disposal. So if you need to refer to any document like reports, letters, files, and anything else, make sure you have them, so that you don't have to tell the person on the other end to wait as you look for them. In the office setup, ensure that those who are within know that you are in a conversation, so that you don't get any form of interruptions during the call. So all that, you do it before you make your call. Then during the call, ensure that you are courteous. Exercise courtesy as you talk to the other person. Establish a rapport, so that the other person can be at ease to discuss and deliberate with you. Remember, we are saying physically you are not together, but the voice communicates a lot, and we normally say that you put a smile in your voice. If you could be talking physically, if it is a video call, the smile can be seen, but in a telephone it can only be felt. So make sure your voice does not sound as if you are constrained or as if you are under pressure to communicate to the other person. Then ensure that you are referring to what you have recorded to communicate, so that you give the correct information. As you communicate, it is important for you to seek feedback from the other person. Then, still on matters courtesy, when you are through with the telephone call, it is always important for you to acknowledge the time the other person has spent and the effort they have made to respond to your call. So it is always important to thank them for picking your call and for spending time to talk to you and with you. Then at the end of the call, make notes of your discussion, the issues that you have agreed on. Take action, do not keep them pending. And if you are making a call on behalf of another person, or you are the recipient of the call and it does not belong to you, then take a message or record a message for the other person so that you can pass it on to them. Some organizations have got message pads for that purpose. We have a sample there which you can look at. It is there in your handout. The other format of oral communication is interviews. Interviews are normally conducted for the purposes of jobs, for employment. So after an advertisement is made and people apply, and out of the applications there is a short list of those who meet the qualifications, then interviews are normally conducted so that the organization can pick the best from those who qualified from the short list or from the list of those who had applied. There are various forms of interviews. We have selection interviews. That is where you want to pick somebody for a new employment or a new position in the organization. We can also have promotion interviews. So these are people who are already working for you. So you interview them so that you can decide who is suitable for promotion to the next level. We also have appraisal interviews. These ones can be done like at the end of the year so that you can score the employees' performance during a given period. We could also have instructional interviews which you can use to issue instructions on new procedures or a new way of doing things within an organization. We also have disciplinary interviews. If an employee has erred and you want to follow up on the issue so that you can make the best decision on how to deal with the person, then because you are going to call this person to defend themselves, to explain why they made the mistake and what they are planning to do in the future. So that is what we are referring to as a disciplinary interview. We have grievance interviews. If employees have got complaints, sometimes they can be represented by the trade union officials, or they can be there in person, so that deliberation or that meeting will be called a grievance interview. Then we also have decision-making interviews. After you gather information from various people in the organization, before making a decision, you deliberate on the various suggestions so that you can decide on the best way forward. Now, planning and conducting an interview. Now, remember, this is two-way. We have the people who are conducting the interview, and we have the people who have been invited for the interview. So we have the 6 areas where you consider when you are planning and conducting an interview. The first one is the preparation. That is prior to the interview. You make sure all the interviewees or the people who are supposed to attend the interview, you communicate to them. The interviewee should also be prepared for the interview. Like I said, it is two-way. Now the preparations in regard to like the venue for the interview, the time, if you are calling many people and you interview them one after the other, it is always good to stagger the time so that people don't spend too much time waiting for their turn. Also plan for the purpose of the interview. It must be well thought out. The purpose will guide you on what you need to prepare for the interview itself. Any information that is required, especially for the person who is attending the interview, like you should find out as much information as possible about the organization where you are going to attend the interview. Find out what they may require from you so that you can gather that information and have it available when it is needed. Now, the setting of the meeting, this one is a responsibility of the person who has called for the interviews or who is conducting the interviews. So I talked about the venue, the venue size, depending on the size of the panel, the seating arrangement, and anything else that you may need in that interview. Remember, some interviews are practical, and where they are practical, if you require any equipment for the people who are going to use them, you ensure that the equipment is available. The people, in this case, we have two categories of people. We have the interviewees, and also we have the panel. They must be considered.